Space Action Podcast! With your hosts, Chris Carson and DC and Shama.
Welcome to Space Action Podcast, a division of Space Action Heroes, which you can find at spaceactionheroes.com. I'm Chris Carson.
DC and Shama.
And this week we're doing something a little different. We're not going to be reviewing a movie in theaters or a Marvel or a comic book movie. We're going to be talking about the 2016, I believe, film Swiss Army Man.
This is crazy. I thought you were dead.
Am I dead?
I don't think so. You're talking.
Hi.
With Daniel Craig, Harry Potter. No, what's his
Daniel
name?
Craig's Bond.
That's Bond.
Daniel Radcliffe.
Radcliffe. They're all British. They're all the same.
I'm imagining a very different movie where it's Bond's corpse.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess for those of you who haven't seen Swiss Army Man or don't know much about it, essentially, it's a guy finds a corpse and
Afloat. He's stranded on an island.
And which is arguably if he actually was or not. If he was just going mad, and the island was representing his solidarity.
Okay.
Because we'll get into the end of the film, but actually, should we start with the end of the film? Because the end of the last 2 minutes of the film ruined the whole movie for me.
The very end where they find the can and stuff?
No, the very end where, well, spoilers for a 2-year-old film. The whole movie is essentially, first of all, to start right off the bat, the movie starts by saying a film by Daniels, and I was like, uh-oh. And anyone who's like, I am a single named auteur, like, this is probably gonna fucking suck. And then I was loving it. I was loving the movie, loving the fact that it seemed to be like an exploration of someone's insanity, using the vessel of a corpse that washed up on the shore next to him as the way that he's kind of coming to terms with his own shortcomings and his
lack of attachments.
And then how great it would have been if that was it. He was just, the whole movie, he was actually 10 minutes away from some neighborhood out in the woods, about to kill himself, and a corpse washed up, and it was just his insanity. But then the film ends with the most awkward revelation of, like, everyone, so at the end they find him, and he runs the corpse away because he's like, I can't let you just die as an anonymous person or be taken to a morgue. And they're all on the beach surrounding him, and then Daniel Radcliffe's corpse comes alive and farts his way into the ocean, and everyone's standing around with shocked looks on their face. And there's not one, not two, but 3 shots of his father giving him like an approving smile at the end, and that ruined the whole movie for me. It was like, if it was an exploration of madness, I would have loved it.
The second they showed them rolling around the yard and they were fighting, from Mary Elizabeth Winstead's washing a plate or some such noise, and you see Daniel Radcliffe's, and she hasn't shown up yet.
Okay.
It's just them wrestling in the yard. I was like, oh no, as a visual narrator, that affirms that the corpse is in fact animated. He's not just crazy.
Right.
And I was like, shit, man, like that kind of just ruined the entire process. I really like the way.
As soon as those little hints started happening, I was like, oh no. Maybe it's like the whimsy of a child. Maybe that's why she can talk to him when that part happens. But no, it was real.
It oddly reminded me, did you ever end up seeing that movie Rubber?
That was with the tire,
yeah,
right?
The murderous tire.
I just remember that trailer exploded the internet, and then I never ended up seeing it.
It's pretty fucking fascinating, because I'm a horror movie nut, and it's very grindhouse in the sense of, like, it's super gory, really simple, but at the end of the day, you're like, what the fuck?
Because it's just a killer tire,
It's just a killer, and it kills people in the most vicious of ways. It's hilarious. Like, a woman's in the shower, the door slowly opens, and this tire rolls into a view, and a part of you gets fucking terrified.
Right.
And this movie kind of reminded me of the same thing. Like, if you're gonna, towards the middle especially, when they started to push those themes of, like, I would never talk to that girl, I'm not gonna lie to you, I'm not as cool as you think, or even at the top of the movie, dude's literally, the movie starts with Paul Dano ready to fucking kill himself.
Yeah.
In my head, he did kill himself, and that whole thing was in his head.
That's where I thought it was going to go too.
Yeah.
But then they never really hinted that was the case. But
no.
Maybe it was.
But just the idea that, like, he was ready to throw it all away, and just the sight of a guy who may or may not be alive washing up
a connection.
Shore. He was so desperate for just any sort of human connection that he fucking runs out to him. I was like, that to me now is the theme of the movie, and the way they slowly peel back the layers of how do we go from farting corpse to Daniel Radcliffe, like, razzling him on the yard.
Right.
I loved all the little reviews, man. Like,
yeah, no, that's the thing. Like, I was loving the movie until
that part.
last minute. It's like, if you watch the movie, do yourself a favor when he's sitting in the ambulance at the end of the film. Just stop.
Turn it off.
Just stop right there.
It's a hard plane to land, that one, though.
I know, because it would have been a little too depressing, maybe.
Yeah.
But then I think you could have found a way to make it uplifting of his realization that it was all, oh God, Davy's being murdered in the other room.
This is what I wake up to.
I don't know if you can hear that at home, but Davy,
4
maybe.
a.m. every day, like clockwork. I swear to God, I go to bed, I turn the light. It's not like, for anyone listening, don't worry, he's not in any sort of pain. He just does this all the time.
Howling.
I'll go to bed, and then within 10 minutes of the lights going out, he starts doing that every time. If it's 9 p.m. or 11 p.m., doesn't matter.
Is it just attention? Like, why am I not being petted right now?
I guess because he's 12.
Yeah,
he's kind of
just a grumpy old man.
He's a crazy grumpy old man now. So, if for anyone listening, no, he's not in any sort of pain. He's just psychotic.
It's all a lie. I'm punching the cat as we speak. I'm punching him.
Fuck up.
Sorry, man. Sorry.
Fuck up.
But yeah, I think they could have landed the plane by having his realization that he'd gone a little mad and that he needed to seek comfort in real people.
Right.
I think they could have made that more poignant instead of the weird E.T. ending of
It was an E.T. Holy shit! With everyone like looking as he takes off and everything. I thought of you when they started singing the Jurassic Park.
I love that. Yeah.
I love the way they used it at a climactic moment in that movie when he finally sees through his eyes that girl walk on the bus. And it's just this a cappella version of the fucking song.
Well, yeah, because the actual score had the Jurassic Park theme in it.
I loved how loopy it was. And that's what I kind of dug about. I was reading that apparently at Sundance, a bunch of people walked out of it. Yeah. And I think you need that level of absurdity. It's kind of like they say a good stand-up comic should have, 33% of the room agreeing with them, 33% of the room totally disagreeing with them, and 33% just not knowing what the fuck's going on.
Right.
I feel like that's what this movie does. It really finds its fans quickly.
Yeah,
Sure. You're gonna like it or you're gonna hate it. Are you done?
It's. Oh, Davey, hi. You back now?
Uh-huh.
Oh. I know everyone kind of says it's a love or hate movie, and I agree to a point with that because I love and hate it. Because I love the movie, and then the ending just ruins. It's almost like a bad movie that has an amazing ending. You wow him in the end, and you got a hit. This is the literal exact opposite, and I'm like, fuck. But I loved the themes they explored. I loved his solidarity. I loved his inability to connect with other people and how they visualized that. I loved. There was a level of him learning to love himself. Was him forming a connection with this corpse because the corpse was a part of him.
Right.
And it was great. It was learning how to. The corpse was helping him survive. Was him learning how to take care of himself.
Right.
In a way. So there were a lot of great layers to it, but just that fucking ending.
I even liked where it
that.
Totally became Be Kind Rewind in the middle with him like sweeting
an
entire environment
and
together.
It all looked so cool.
It looked really well done. You can tell. I think the production designers must be like, what would you what piece of trash would you find? Or maybe they use this real pieces of trash. I don't know, but the way they handled it was really, really like at that point in the movie, I was like, this is whimsical as fuck.
Right?
This is so enjoyable. I didn't see this coming.
And the weird kind of pseudo-sexualness between him and the corpse.
Yes!
But again, representing his inability to masturbate.
Right.
And now he's learning to love himself. So it was actually...
Especially like the
great.
way his boner literally becomes a divining rod. Like his hard-ons and his fucking sexuality is eventually what kind of drives them home.
Yeah.
Like,
and then also the idea... Because I don't believe he was on an island at the beginning. I really think that was a visual representation of his loneliness.
Because there was no justification for it. Like I was waiting for the moment where like I was part of a Swedish soccer team and the plane crashed. Right. I was the only survivor. But
I think the whole time he just gone mad and gone out into the woods. 5 minutes from the girl he was kind of stalking's house.
Yeah.
And
magical corpse.
Magical corpse. But it actually ended up being a magical corpse.
Carson, he is a wizard.
Yeah,
he's one of those outstanding wizards of Hogwarts.
That would be great if this was part of the Harry Potter expanded universe and that was Harry's body. That had been like spelled into a death.
Yeah,
stance.
like Voldemort made it into another Horcrux, so now it's just got part of him in it. Starts speaking parcel tongue at one point.
What am I? Why am I? But I didn't even realize that was Ramona Flowers until the end.
Right?
I kept being like, "Who is
on
that?"
the picture? Me too. Yeah. Even like Paul Dano, usually, well, that's a lie. I was gonna say Paul Dano, but the first two movies that jumped to mind were Little Miss Sunshine and
There Will Be Blood. Yeah.
There Will Be Blood, and I love him in both of those. I love
That's
him
all I know him
3
from.
times over because
Yeah.
he plays 2 characters in There Will Be Blood.
Wasn't he a villain in a Ghost Rider movie, or was that the kid from American Beauty? I think that was the emo kid with the one big eyebrow from American Beauty.
See, I don't even know that kid from that movie. What else was?
I think that's the thing, because he
That's
was in
it?
American Beauty, but he was like a find by whoever directed Sam Mendes,
Mm.
and then they tried to like push his career into other things, and he was just terrible. But what is Paul Dano? What else has he been in?
There Will
other
Be
than...
Blood, Gigantic. He was one of the voices in Where the Wild Things Are.
Oh, okay.
Looper.
He
was in Looper. He was the fucking
was the-
goofball
yeah.
in Looper who fucks up.
Yeah.
He was in 12 Years as a Slave, and he was a dick.
Was he? I'm assuming a slave master.
There was the only good person in that flick is Benedict Cumberbatch. Like everybody, Michael Fassbender is one of the worst human beings on the planet in that flick. If I remember correctly, Paul Dano's like this scheming fucking farm boy who's like
And
egging him on.
Cumberbum is the good guy. The good
Yeah,
white.
you know why? So
Because he's British.
well, yeah, literally.
Wait, actually?
Yes.
Okay, that makes sense.
His grandma told him when he entered the film industry, you should probably change your last name.
Cumberbatch.
Because anyone of my generation or older will know that the Cumberbatches were one of the most prolific slave owners in the trade.
In England?
The England, I guess they would be, yeah.
England, I thought England...
I think it's trading, though. Like,
and
the
just
shipping over from...
the East India Trading Corporation or whatever it was.
I suppose.
That was the one that did spices. I apologize to those who were once part of the East
You think
India
that
Trading
sounds
Company.
bad? At least you have an excuse. I'm black, and I'm fucking outing myself. I'm like, but
Jim's Emporium, I don't know.
anywho, if there was money in it, the British fucking did it. So I'm sure
That's true.
there's a couple British slave traders.
Just sneaking it.
But yeah, exactly. So she said straight up, change your name because they'll recognize it. So that was kind of his way of attrition. Was just like, I'm gonna play a benevolent character that helps this guy out in the story.
Okay. Do you remember when he got in shit for saying coloreds?
Did he?
Yeah.
Oh boy.
It was so innocent, though. You can tell he probably just has a super racist grandma
Sure,
or something.
yeah.
Because it was like, I don't remember the exact. I'm paraphrasing, but he was basically like, "No, we need more roles for colored people." You
He's
know,
like Gareth in The Office.
yeah. He just fucked it up. He just used, and then they jumped down his throat for it. And he was like, "But what? The context of what I was saying was very positive."
That man should know if you look that much like a lizard person, you gotta mind your P's and Q's. That's all I'm gonna say.
But yeah, I don't know. Like, did you just watch Swiss Army Man?
I literally just finished it, yeah.
I did too last night. I vaguely heard of it peripherally.
Did you notice Daniel Radcliffe's taint?
How fuzzy it was?
Well, no, just that I had to fucking see it. I was pretty upset with that.
He kept pulling his pants down so he'd fart, and then Daniel Radcliffe has one of the hairiest asses
He is
I've
English.
ever seen in my life. Are they known to be half goat?
Because like the farm country guys, man, they're like rough and tough.
Yeah.
They're not shaving down there,
Like,
man.
I'm a fuzzy man. I have chest hair like Austin Powers. My butt isn't as fuzzy as Daniel
fuzzy
Radcliffe's.
butt.
Maybe that's the thing. Maybe it's like God doesn't give with both hands. It's like you have fur on your ass and nowhere else, or not on your ass and everywhere else. That's the options. Which one do you want?
But
know.
what were we gonna say before I mentioned Daniel Radcliffe's balls?
I don't know.
Right? Just wipes your memory.
I think so. Daniel, it's like a forgetigus balligus. His balls are magical.
We got anything else on Swiss Army Man?
Yeah, I don't know. I think I would suggest watching it.
It's a good ride. I like a movie that's just like, fucking look at this shit.
Yeah,
I dare you to look at this.
And I say this all the time on this podcast, is like, watch other things. The world isn't superhero and studio films, and this is one of those films that's other things.
Self-contained.
So even if you hate it, you can appreciate that it's like a dude's vision. It's art. Yeah. So I mean, in the end, would you recommend Swiss Army Man?
Oh god, I would recommend, just for like, again, putting you outside your comfort zone. I'm a big believer that, like, dude, everyone should roll every movie once, twice if you like it.
Oh yeah, for
it's
sure.
just to see like what your visual and artistic palette is.
Yeah.
This movie was insanely beautifully shot.
Oh god, yeah.
Like, there was a couple shots where it's like, I can't believe I'm seeing something so stupid portrayed so earnestly. Like, there's actual artisan shit in that movie. So yeah, I would recommend just to be like, look how amazing you can portray something ridiculous.
And exposing yourself to other forms of storytelling.
Yeah.
That aren't just the hero's journey or aren't just something basic. This is completely an exploration of a man's inability to feel intimacy.
It's almost
and
like
it's amazing.
It's almost like if you asked a fucking 10-year-old to retell you the story of Castaway, but again, told so earnestly.
Yeah.
You're like,
and then he farted?
Yeah, and then Wilson farts. He's not a volleyball, he's Harry Potter.
I remember, I've heard this a few times, that the idea was to start the movie with a guy riding a farting corpse and end with you crying. And it didn't end with me crying. It ended with me going, fuck, I should have turned it off 2 minutes early. But other than that, yeah, I definitely would recommend it.
But yeah, like in terms of like executing a movie that is just fucking ridiculous, really earnestly with like a crazy adventure movie, it reminds me a lot of fucking Krull.
Which brings us to Krull. Okay, so a bit of backstory on why we're doing Krull.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think you can tell right off the bat that one of us maybe doesn't like Krull as much as the other. I'd never heard of Krull. It was always like this peripheral where every once in a while something like Spaced or some nerd thing would mention Krull, and it would kind of just I wouldn't really think about it. And weirdly enough, I was watching a YouTube video. The video ended, and then the next one autoplayed started, and the video was like, top 10 actors who were in weird movies, like one of those. It was Liam Neeson in Krull, and I was like, really? So I just searched YouTube for the trailer for Krull, but when I searched for it, the whole movie's on YouTube. So I started it up, and this awesome James Horner score started playing. I was like, alright, I'm in, I'll watch this. Yeah. And I fucking fell in love with Krull. In the same way that you love, like, Plan 9 from Outer Space, or The Never-Ending Story.
I was about to say, I have a soft spot for The Never-Ending Story. I don't know how well it's aged. Probably well.
I don't know, I haven't seen it in forever. But yeah, no, I was just glued to it. I just started, I was like, this is happening now, and I loved the 80s fantasy weirdness of it. I loved how charming it was. I loved how much they were trying. It's like this movie was made because of Star Wars, and the director of like Bullet, like David Yates, directed
Peter
it.
Yates.
Or Peter Yates, sorry. And
didn't David Yates do like one of
Harry Potters?
Yeah,
he did all Harry Potters, which links back to Swiss Army Man. But it was.
And guess what? It's his son.
Is it?
No.
It was edited by Ray Lovejoy, who's an amazing editor. It was scored by James Horner. Peter Yates directed it. I was like, how have I never really heard of this? And it was so honest in its earnestness to not just be Star Wars.
I wonder, was it before or after Neverending Story? Because especially
Never-ending Story.
Because once we got to the swamp where people started sinking and shit, I was like, did you guys just save the set from Neverending Story?
Maybe
like,
it was just like the Paramount
chuck some
set.
cork shit on top.
But for those of you who aren't familiar with Krull, essentially the story is very basic. It is the planet Krull. See, whenever I hear this name in the past, I think, is this like a barbarian movie? Like Krull the Barbarian?
Yeah, it does sound like that.
But it was the planet Krull, which is essentially like an 11th, 12th century medieval planet. And then these space monsters called the Beast.
The Beast and his minions are the Slayers.
The Slayers. Yeah. And they come down in this like giant castle-shaped ship and just land.
That opening's pretty dope.
It's so great.
Yeah.
And then the whole crux of it is that castle disappears and it reappears somewhere else every 24 hours.
Yeah,
every morning
sunset.
With the sunset or sunrise? Sunset.
I believe it disappears at sunset and reappears at sunrise. Or some such noise.
And so
never in the same place.
Basically, there's over the whole planet, and so these 11th century like medieval people are having to deal with these monsters with laser beams who've come down from space to conquer their planet. And the reason that they're there is because there's a prophecy that the prince and the princess will have a child that will rule the universe, or the galaxy universe. Yeah. And the Beast, which originally in the original script was a dragon, but they just didn't have the budget, so it ended up becoming this monster thing.
I didn't mind the design of
I
that.
loved it.
I liked how subliminal and creepy. It was like a Faustian nightmare every time they showed it.
It was so good.
That was kind of cool.
But his plan was, and again, classic 80s archetype stuff, he steals the princess.
Yeah.
because he wants to stop the prophecy from happening, because that would be someone who would challenge him or impregnate her so that his heir is the...
I thought a cool old school visual effect is when they first stormed the castle and they just had a couple of the slayers hooked up to wires and they started climbing the wall.
Yeah.
And I'm like, Peter Jackson must have been a fucking Krull fan, man. It reminded me a lot of the Helm's Deep battle.
There
the
was.
angles and the lighting and everything.
I noticed that right off the bat during the intro to the movie, and they're showing them all go, "Rah!" and pointing their swords up in the air.
It looked like, what do you call it? Isengard in the Two Towers.
It looked like all the orcs. And then, the movie essentially is a road trip movie with the prince. He's a prince with no kingdom because the beast comes in and kills all his people.
Did he not look exactly like Theon Greyjoy, though?
Yeah, a little bit.
I couldn't not see him and be like, that dude's got no cock. Like, his performance, I'm sorry.
He was an odd choice to
really
be the lead.
Odd choice.
But I love, like there was the little details of the movie I love, because on the road trip he has to go, what was the name of the thing, the throwing star thing that he had to pick out of the lava?
I don't know. I was about to say, the last time I saw a Krull reference, we did it, man. Ready Player One. At one point he chucks that fucking thing.
Okay.
Remember it? And I remember seeing it and being like, I gotta just watch this thing
what
eventually.
Is that thing? I didn't even notice.
What's it called? God damn it.
It's called something silly. It's like the
glaive.
The glaive. He goes and gets the glaive. But, I'm sorry, the little moments throughout his road trip story of getting to the Beast's castle, I loved. Like, the idea that a planet of Cyclopses had been invaded by the Beast prior to this adventure. And so there are a few remaining Cyclopses that kind of followed these guys around in order to try and stop them. But the idea that they knew their own death, and if they avoided their own death, they would just suffer horrible pain. So I was like, this poor Cyclops avoided his own death to come save them at the end, and now he's just going to be in horrible pain for, like, eternity. Like,
is that what happened to him?
Yeah.
I just remember in a doorway, it was closing.
That's when, because he says, I can't go with you. I've foreseen my death. This is where I die. And they're like, all right, good journey, buddy. And they take off on their horses, and then the music from Alien swells.
Yes.
And we'll get into that. And then they're fucking up. They can't get in the castle. The sun's about to go down or come up. I don't remember which the visual was. And all of a sudden, he shows up.
Yeah.
And he's just in pain, and he's helping them, and then he gets squished by the doors. And you're like, that's such a tragic end to that noble, lovable character.
He was their Chewbacca.
He was their Chewie. But I don't know. I dig that movie. I don't know why it clicked with me. Maybe a year ago or a year from now it wouldn't have. But for some reason right now, I was like, 80s fantasy, ahoy. I'm digging the shit out of this.
Fucking killed me. Just in terms of that performance, Kenneth Marshall.
Oh, the dude, the main guy.
Yeah.
The Prince.
Oh, that was one
Prince
part.
Persnickety.
Whenever he, I think it's me, he's finding the Emerald Wizard, and there's this long ass montage of him climbing a rock face.
Okay.
That goes on way too long, and it's so funny because I don't know if he did a rehearsal take or if they were just like, nah, just do it on the day, because he's like having a hard time climbing those rocks. It reminded me a lot of watching Tommy Wiseau trying to bug a phone for the first time.
I watched the making of. Apparently, there were a lot of moments where they were like in danger.
Oh
they
yeah.
Like, go and climb this thing. We're not going to rig it up properly.
The one that was crazy.
Widow of the Web nearly killed the guy.
Yes, like they didn't give him any sort of safety harness whatsoever. I'm like, this is fucking bananas. God bless the 80s.
The Widow of the Web. I love that scene. I think again primarily because of James Horner's score. Because I downloaded the soundtrack after I saw the movie, and the Widow of the Web score track is just so fucking creepy.
Yeah,
it's like
I love Aliens as well.
Yeah,
I love that nest scene.
And it sounds like music that should have been over Shelob in Lord of the Rings, because the Shelob score was pretty not great.
I remember Return of the King that well.
Yeah, and Shelob's theme was like, oh, this is your big bad evil monster theme,
right?
But then Horner's Widow of the Web theme, again, very Aliens-y. We'll get into that, but actually, we might as well get into it now. But I loved it. I said this to you, I texted it to you, that James Horner tends to do the same score for 10 years, completely reinvent himself, and then do that same score for 10 years, and then died.
You gotta give some examples.
Oh yeah, so especially for Krull, it's like the theme from Krull, which is... And now compare that to Star Trek III, The Search for Spock. And then maybe a little Aliens for good measure. There's many more examples. I'm not going to fill the whole podcast with musical clips. Look it up for yourself, because there's so many examples of just the exact score over and over and over again. God love him, though, because Williams does the same thing.
Don't worry, he won't be doing it again.
Oh.
Sorry. Too dark?
Oh.
Too soon?
He died a while ago, but that's so
I
sad.
fucking love that, man. I love his score. The goddamn Nebula montage in Wrath of Khan is one of my favorite orchestral pieces.
Stealing the Enterprise is what I'm going to throw in here. You probably have just heard it if you're listening. That's one of my favorite tracks of all time. I've listened to Stealing the Enterprise more times than I can count. And it's Stealing the Enterprise is like a microcosm of James Horner's entire career, because every sting that he repeats is in that one track.
I still love Bishop's Countdown. If I ever need to get anything done, like on a deadline, you just crank those
I can't even hum it.
Those punctuated bursts at the end. You're like, oh, dude, Williams, you hearing this?
Yeah,
like he's one upping you.
I think that's the difference between. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of differences, but John Williams' A themes are so distinguishable from one another, but his B themes are all kind of wallpaper and melt into each other. But
really,
I find that like.
I find Star Wars alone, the first one, has so many B themes, like the Jawa theme.
Oh, early Williams, yeah, for sure. But I think as his career went on,
gotcha.
I think all of his B stuff kind of sounds the same. James Horner does the exact same thing, but his B themes are more recognized. They don't meld into the background as much as Williams' B themes do. So you really notice. You're like, oh, that's Bishop's about to it just got ripped in half, and Krull's being attacked, and the Enterprise is being stolen. It's the same fucking thing, because it's such a distinct sound.
Right.
Whereas Williams knows how to sort of blend it in and kind of make it disappear a little more.
That's true. It's a little bit more organic. You know, it doesn't feel as shoehorned in.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. But I mean, that's a product of when the dude was kind of big, man. The 80s was about to like if you listen to his scores, they all sound very 80s.
Oh yeah,
even
he invented the resurgence of big band or big orchestral music,
and all the way up into and including Titanic. Like I think about whenever it's pulling out a port and he's using those like voice synths and stuff. It's a little like, but like at the same time, like that dude isn't trying to be as organic as well. It's very showboat. Like it's James Cameron. It's very fitting for James Cameron. It's very showboaty.
He waves the flag, definitely. So I've gone on about why I like Krull. I'd like to give you the floor as to the opposition view.
You know, hearing you compare it to Lord of the Rings gives it a little bit more clarity, but just I'm trying to think. I'm trying to compare it to, like, let's say, a Neverending Story or another one of my favorites.
Legend, something like that.
Dark Crystal is more so my speed. But, like...
Oh, I hate Legend. I don't understand why.
I get, like, there's always a procedural of, like, we have to go find this wizard who will lead us to this castle, who will bring us to this emerald. I just found this one, it was way too disjointed. Mm-hmm. I think even for 80s fantasy campy standards, the editing was fucking jarring as hell.
You're not wrong. Each set piece didn't entirely feel connected to the last.
Well, each time they cut back to the princess being tormented by the beast, it would always end on some weird note, like a close-up of his face, and it just cut back to the... And I was like, why do you keep doing that? Like, I get it, he's menacing, and he wants to fuck her. I get it.
He wants to mate with her.
Like, I totally get it. I don't know what... And I don't know, the also... I don't want to jump to the end too quickly, but, also, the introduction of some of the characters, I wanted to punch Ergo in his fucking face.
Oh, the shapeshifter. Who is he? Why is he so recognizable?
He is very recognizable. Hold up.
He seems like, he looks like, oh god.
David Batley.
David Batley. He, who's Alan Partridge? Why am I forgetting this name? Why is it not coming to my brain?
Mr. Turkentine in Willy Wonka. Is he the candy shop owner?
Oh, yes, that's it. He's from Willy Wonka, but...
Run home!
The actor... I'm going to kick myself for blanking on this, but the guy who plays Alan Partridge...
Steve Coogan.
Steve Coogan. He looks like a Steve Coogan
He does
clone.
look like Steve. Whenever he popped up on screen, I'm like, there was no way he was this young.
Right.
There's no way.
That was my first thought, too. I was like, is that Alan Partridge? And I was like, no, it's not.
What
but
else?
He's just one of those faces who shows up in things.
He's irritating.
He's going to be like 30 years from now what Patton Oswalt is. You know, he just keeps showing up in things and you kind of recognize him.
Query, why does he turn into a puppy and allow the child to carry him?
Because he's a pedophile, DC.
That was really upsetting. And the way, like, you know, friggin' Theon just looks at them and just grins and laughs. I'm like, what is the implication of this scene?
Well,
What's going on?
The idea was that he's a shapeshifter that fucks up, so it wasn't intentional.
Oh, I got that much.
So he just got stuck as a puppy.
And then, I guess, because the apprentice was trying to cover his ass, he's like, oh, he'll be back. And he just kind of was covering for him.
He was kind of covering for him.
It was just it was a weird little scene.
It's
adorable puppy, so
Yeah.
I was very thrown for a loop.
I just dug that at the end when he became the tiger. I was like, I want a shapeshifter that can hang out with me as a tiger.
I also like the creature design. Every time they shot those things and their hairs would bust open.
Yeah.
And it would get super gory, like
and then the thing would jump out of it, the little alien.
The little, like, worm slug thing. I did enjoy, like, some of the 80s classic effects, like when the shapeshifter
The shapeshifting was amazing.
Oh.
The shapeshifting itself, how he'd go like...
Yeah, when his face goes all black,
Yeah.
that was pretty fun. But again, one of the things that killed me was how so apparently a lot of the fight choreography had to be redone, or like it didn't work as well because of the Slayer outfits were way too bulky.
Right.
And you can fucking tell because 9 times in 10 in the movie they're just walking slowly towards people or backing away from people, and you could tell they were just like, "Fuck, these costumes."
What do we do? What do we do?
They're too bulky. But I don't know. There's some design I dug. But overall, it was mostly just that. It was so jarring. Like, half the time I was like, why the fuck is this going on for so long? What is with the red sand? I don't care anymore.
I'm so sorry I made you watch it.
Again, like Swiss Army Man, I like being put outside my comfort zone with the movie. I'm like, this is challenging. I'm going to give it a shot.
Get through.
And come on, dude. Liam Neeson. I'll watch Liam Neeson and Robbie Coltrane in fucking anything.
It's always so weird to see someone who was famous now who wasn't then.
He's giving his all in that movie. Oh, it's amazing.
Because just to imagine putting yourself there in 1982 or 3, so I think it's like it's 35th anniversary, I think, this year for Krull. So I guess that works out. I think so. It's maybe 83, so it might be 34th. But 83. But I just love thinking of being in the audience back then and just that character completely washing past you because you have no idea who this person is. I always love that, seeing famous people in their first roles.
There's one I was watching recently, Basquiat, the Julian Schnabel movie.
Yeah.
There's a scene where Jean-Michel's walking down an alleyway and these street toughs are busting his door with his art on it. So he tries to sign it, but like the commentary is that his art's become more famous than he is. The street toughs don't recognize him, so they just beat the shit out of him.
Yeah.
Sam Rockwell.
Was it?
It's Sam Rockwell wearing a bandana.
That's hilarious.
And you're like, get the fuck, you won an Oscar and you're street tough #1 in the credits? Like, what the fuck?
As an aside that just made me think of street toughs beating up someone, you've seen As Good As It Gets.
No.
No? We should have done As Good As It Gets. Because
you mentioned that when I busted my arm.
Because it's about an artist who gets the shit kicked out of him, and he's lost the ability to do his art because he's so emotionally scarred.
Okay.
Because he's a gay guy, and then they beat him up for like gay hating reasons.
Right.
And then it's Jack Nicholson who writes romance novels and is OCD, so he has to like lock the door 4 times, can't step on cracks, and he's just nuts, and he's a miserable old bastard. And I was like, miserable old writer. Artist with a broken arm. Oh my god, we need to do this.
We should just do this next week.
We should do it. As Good As It Gets is great, and it has one of the most sexist lines that makes me laugh every time, and I apologize to anyone who's gonna be angry.
What is it?
It's when he's just Jack Nicholson is just pissed off, and he's at his editors, and he's trying to get to see him, and the secretary is like all like in awe of him, clearly a fan. And she goes, I've always wanted to ask you, how do you write women so well? And he's just trying to get out of there. He doesn't even want to talk to her. And he goes, I think of a man, then I take away reason and accountability. And I just think that's one of the most hilarious sexist lines ever, but it's delivered so well. Like,
Jack Nicholson could deliver that line. Jack Nicholson could be like, I'm gonna murder you, and I'd be like, I'm all right with it.
Because the message isn't actually sexist; the character is, not the message of the film. It's just his character's an old crotchety asshole.
He's trying to find the quickest way out of that conversation.
Right? Yeah. And so he knows he just insults everyone. Like he at one point he has the same table he has to sit at every day, and at one point 2 Jewish people are sitting there. So he's like, how's your long noses dipping into your soups, And he's like, so he's just monstrous. He's just monstrous to everybody. And that's why he's so charming.
And he's the writer?
He's the guy who writes erotic fiction.
I'm just going to watch that movie and pretend it's Jack Torrance after they thought him out.
And
he's just lost his goddamn mind.
So yeah, we should definitely do it as good as it gets at some point, because it's a great movie.
Yeah, I gotta check. I never need an excuse to watch Jack Nicholson. I love that man.
And it's a James L. Brooks movie, which is awesome because James L. Brooks is awesome.
He's a legend, man.
I also watched Mother.
Greg Kinnear?
Yeah.
Oh,
Greg
come
Kinnear's
on,
the
I'm
artist.
so in.
Yeah. Speaking of a Brooks, not the of the James L. variety, but I watched Albert Brooks's Mother recently.
Mother!
I would definitely recommend that movie as well. It's amazing.
Albert Brooks?
Albert Brooks, the Hank Scorpio. Yeah.
He directed a movie?
He's directed many movies. That's his whole shtick back in the 80s and
Scorpio?
90s.
I hardly knew you.
Yeah, Albert Brooks is fucking amazing.
I love that, man. You know they wrote Hank Scorpio predicated on what it's like trying to have a conversation with Albert Brooks.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, that makes me so happy to know he's actually like that.
He's like that, yeah.
This one?
No, not Mother with an exclamation
Oh,
point.
okay, that's why I got confused. I was like, the Aronofsky movie? He's in that?
No. It's from the early 90s, and it's about a writer who moves home with his mother because he has such a bad relationship with her.
Oh, yeah, check that out.
This podcast definitely becoming the mixed bag podcast. It's great.
I mean, I don't like having just like a constrained thing,
Because
especially
it's
after...
always Marvel movies.
Well, and that's the other thing I was thinking about the other day. The irony is we sit here and bitch moan and complain about these studio marketed, crowdsourced movies, and it's like, well, yeah, that's what they are. They're fast food movies. They're not meant to be deconstructed. Like, what does this say about the human condition?
But it's the best way to get people to listen to us. Not to show the
makes us corporate whores.
Not to show the strings behind the puppets here, but yeah, this is probably going to be our lowest rated podcast.
Oh, hands down, we lost people fucking that Swiss Army Man.
Yeah,
fucking Krull.
So Krull's great and as good as it gets. If you haven't seen it, watch it. Mother, Darren Aronofsky's Mother. I love that movie.
I haven't seen that yet.
It's very polarizing too. It's
query. Does Jennifer Lawrence scream?
Constantly. But it's I don't want to spoil anything for you because knowing nothing about it makes it so much better.
That's kind of how I want to go.
So I don't want to spoil anything, but
what else have you watched this week? Anything else? I saw a movie.
What'd you see?
I saw that Lee Wannell movie. He's the director of the Saw movies. He did Upgrade.
As a quadriplegic, must be frustrating for you, someone who liked to get things done with their hands. What if I told you I could offer you something that would enable you to walk again? I call it STEM, a computer chip that has the potential to change everything. It's a new, better brain. Oh my God.
It wasn't bad. Like, I'm not a huge fan of, like, because the way they stole it was, like, from the producers who brought you Get Out. So it's supposed to be, like, this new...
Blumhouse. Blumhouse is using Get Out for fucking everything.
I know. And, like...
Selfie horror.
This one, it was... like an episode of... If it was an episode of Black Mirror, I would have liked it way more.
Okay.
But it was a 90-minute feature length of things. So you're like, this is kind of outstaying. It's welcome.
Right.
But basically, the whole plot is... This guy is... he does car restoration when he has a girlfriend. It's set in the near future, which is kind of cool. The way they handled the visual effects of the actual city in the future were pretty badass.
Yeah.
Like, just enough to make it look like it's advanced. Everyone has, like, these self-driving cars with, like, solar panels on the outside. Like, really minimal design, which I dug. So anywho, homeboy restores a car for one of his clients. Is like this Elon Musk, like, billionaire. Billionaire's like, check it out, man. I just developed this new microchip. Next thing you know, he's in an accident that leaves him paralyzed. His girlfriend's killed.
This is sounding more familiar as you just...
Well, I think it's because, like, this plot arc has been used 1 billion times.
In recent memory, I think I've seen a trailer or something.
So all of a sudden, the billionaire's like, if I give you Microchip McGee here, you can be better, stronger, faster. Yeah, exactly. Right. So... I guess it's not spoilers. I mean, there's no way you're not going to fucking know that he's not going to be like, no, I'm good. It's not going to go well,
yeah. 20 minutes in, it just ends. He's happy with his life.
Exactly. In a wheelchair. He's like, man, remember that time that crazy billionaire offered me the...
Or no, remember that great thing that worked perfectly for me that billionaire gave me? I'm so much better off now.
So he gets in and it starts to talk to him. Yada, yada, da, da, da.
This is starting to sound familiar.
Yeah, it wasn't bad. I like the way they executed it visually. Like what they did, I was listening to an interview with Lee Wannell. They just locked down like an iPhone to the actor, like on a Steadicam. Okay. So it was kind of cool. Like as he fought, you'd hear like these bionic moves, and his body would stay parallel to the edges of the frame, but the whole
would be rocking
around him. It was kind of a cool way to like
Requiem for a Dream shot, basically.
One of these in Requiem.
Remember when they attached the camera to Jennifer Connelly?
Yeah.
When she comes out after having sex for
Oh, and she barfs. Yeah,
throws
you're
up.
right. But exactly, but like a profile view.
Okay.
It was really cool the way they handled that. And again, I like the design of like the semi-near future. The rest of it was kind of
like 2030 kind of thing.
Yeah, like it had like hints of Blade Runner, and just it was cool. The whole opening is just this dude working on his car.
Okay.
And all of a sudden, I think the first time you realize the fuck, his girlfriend rolls up in the auto car.
Okay.
And there's a sequence in that movie. So the auto car doesn't have any windows or anything on it. It's just a
bubble.
It looks like a Prius.
Okay.
But like a hatchback covered in solar panels, so like on the inside you sit like an old railway car, like 4 and 4, like 2 by 2 that face each other.
Okay. Oh,
and
nice.
Yeah, and the car just drives itself. You can either toggle the windows on or off. So for the most part, they just sit and they talk like this, and all of a sudden the car fucks up. And it starts going way too fast. It's not taking them home. It goes down to like the docks.
Okay.
And they're freaking out. And this thing just starts clicking at like 90 miles per hour down the fucking harbor. And they're freaking out. And I was like, that is so tangible.
Yeah,
like,
didn't one of the creators of the self-driving car die in a self-driving car accident?
So
yeah.
I was like, that was an effective use of horror. Like in terms of just like no one's done the self-driving car horror movie.
Self-driving cars only work if they're all self-driving. The second there's the human element involved, then they're the stupidest idea ever.
Yeah, I just don't. There's like, this is probably going to sound so like macho bullshit, but there's just certain jobs that people should do and
like driving
fucking shouldn't. You need like creative thinking.
I think that my only
improvisational skills, like
the only benefit I can see from a self-driving car is like my family lives in Ottawa, so one of the most mind-numbing horrible experiences is having to drive to Ottawa, especially in like December.
Oh Jesus! Yeah.
And how many times I think, how great would it be if I could just fucking nap in the back?
Oh yeah, no. Even when I drive to Cornwall, and
yeah,
like,
you're far too. Yeah.
Well, what sucks is because if I leave here, I don't know how sun physics work when you're in a car. How it's perpetually either in your face. Wasn't it Bill Hicks had that joke? Like, I've seen the sun take corners with us.
That's like the wind down an alley. Every street you turn, a cold wind blows on you. Yeah.
Every time I'm driving, and I always wear black pants, whether they're jeans or just fucking dress pants.
Cooking.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure my sperm count's nil. Like it's hell on earth.
I'm fairly sure my sperm count is like Homer Simpson, just the two dumb ones
bumping into
each other.
But yeah, no, that sequence with the fucking self-driving car was really well done. I'm really effective.
Worth the price of admission?
I paid I just went to the Carlton. It was like $10. So I was like, fuck it. I got $10. It was okay. Crazy gore. Because again, the dude's coming off of Saw.
Yeah, that's true.
So it was kind of interesting.
The ultimate gorer.
Yes. And like there'd be scenes where he's like, I can defeat him. Just let me take over your body. And you're like, oh no.
Now I know exactly what you're talking about. That line just clicked in my head. I've seen that trailer.
That tone of voice.
Let me take over your body.
Yeah. And you're just like, no, don't. Because it's going to go fucking The Fly. He's going to start losing his humanity and someone's going to get their wrist bone popped out. And I've had quite enough of that for 1 week.
Recently, yeah. Jesus.
But yeah, it got pretty gnarly at some points. But yeah, it's leave it on in the background while you're like eating dinner. Or
check it out. Yeah, check it out. Good recommendation. I recently rewatched Midnight Cowboy.
His name is Joe Buck. He's a cowboy. Just came in from Texas.
Cowboy, huh?
I ain't a for real cowboy, but I am one hell of a stud.
Let's go.
Hey! I'm walking here! I'm walking here!
I'm gonna use you. I'm gonna run you ragged.
Hey, listen, don't get sore or anything, okay? I don't think I can walk anymore. I'm scared. You know what they do to you when they find out that you can't walk.
You know, I actually never seen that movie.
Fucking love that movie.
Is that why you proposed I should become a gigolo?
Yeah. Because, I mean, it doesn't end well for them, but it seems like quite an adventure on the way. Midnight Cowboy is the first X-rated film to ever win an Oscar. If you've ever heard someone make the joke, I'm walking here! That's from Midnight Cowboy.
And one of the most famous improvised lines.
Yep. Dustin Hoffman goes completely out of character. He's no longer Rico Rizzo. He just becomes Dustin Hoffman yelling at a cabbie. And my biggest connection...
Which kind of is awesome knowing that Hoffman's like kind of badass.
Yeah,
like,
fuck you, I'm walking here! And I love that movie. It's just a story of, essentially just to set it up, it's the story of a guy, a bunch of people come and gang rape him and his girlfriend, but his girlfriend, in a state of like madness after it happens, accuses him of it. So he ends up going to prison and then needs to kind of just escape this life that's happened to him. So he moves to New York to become a gigolo. And so it's sort of the exploration of his fucked up brain when it comes to sex and sexuality, how he's completely been warped by that experience, and also just life of impoverished people in New York
at that time
in the late 60s.
Yeah.
And it's great. It's really, really good. And my best story involving that movie is in film school. We drove to New York to shoot a documentary, and no one had seen that at that point, and I was in love with Midnight Cowboy. That was one of my like film school finds, and so I was like, we got to put on the song for Midnight Cowboy as we drive into Manhattan. It's everybody's talking at me, I don't hear a word they're saying. Yeah. And I was like, we gotta play. And everyone was like, why the fuck do you want to play this going to New York? And then I finally got them to put it on, and it played while we got stuck in a tunnel. And then they wouldn't put it on a second time.
Come on, just roll it back. Fuck you.
Yeah, I was like, no, why are you listening to this stupid song? I was like, you guys are in film school driving to New York to shoot a documentary, and y'all haven't seen Midnight Cowboy? What the fuck? But that's my biggest story for involving that film. That's I think it's pretty much all I've seen recently.
Weird. Oh, yeah, I think I had something else. Oh, but we had Sicario. Cut that.
We'll do Sicario soon. I didn't get around to seeing it, and there's 2 of them now, and getting out to theaters is tough.
I don't know about the second one.
No?
The first one was such a clean...
Give me a 5-minute or 30-second review of Sicario 1 and 2.
Okay. I haven't seen 2 yet.
Oh, you haven't seen it?
No, I've only seen 1. Sicario 1 is one of the best explorations of tension building. I would put up with Denis Villeneuve's like Arrival and 2049.
Rest in peace. Wait, who did you say?
Denis Villeneuve.
Oh, okay, sorry.
The director.
He directed it too?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I meant his composer. They both have very strange names, and I get them confused.
Johan Johansson.
Rest in peace. Sorry.
Yeah, him partnered with Denis Villeneuve. It's just it's like a meditation.
Yeah, he was deconstructing music in a way. He was a genius.
Yeah,
and he died young, like all fucking geniuses do.
It's pretty beautifully orchestrated, and then complemented by as an editor, you'll love it. Just in terms of the beats that they hit. Right. I watched this one video where I won't spoil anything, where they break down a confrontation at the border crossing, and it's up there with like Kubrick's shower sequence in terms of just like the psychology. Yeah, and just like almost using edits like instruments, if you know what I mean.
Right.
Like where you're like, oh, this is every time we cut to her, that's like the drums. But every time we cut to this guy, that's like the melody.
It just creates the symphony.
Yeah, and all of a sudden, bang, bang, bang. You're like,
Awesome.
It's really well done. Like,
yeah, I'm gonna download the soundtrack tonight, because the soundtrack for Arrival is hands down my past 5 years.
Yeah,
because it's not just someone doing John Williams, which is every movie now
taking a risk, and
it's
also
just crazy. The way they got the sound for Arrival was they recorded a guy. I don't remember the noise he made, but they used an old school Magstock tape, and they recorded his voice on it, and then they rolled the tape back and recorded the same thing on the same piece of tape over and over and over and over again, and that's what created the sound of the aliens. He just kept, so he didn't use any digital recording. He used like old school mag tape, and it was
like, interesting.
It's amazing. He was such an artist.
That movie has one of my favorite, most tangible sci-fi, like, oh, that's exactly what would happen always ever, whenever they all start to translate the word into like tool, someone translates it into war, and the screens just start to go blank. And I'm like, that is so terrifying, and that is exactly what would happen. Like, that's so well done. That thing.
It's so good. He didn't I can never pronounce his name.
Denis Villeneuve. C'est parce qu'il est français.
He didn't do Sicario 2, I'm guessing.
Good question. Let's have a looky, Lou.
I'm guessing because he's been working on Blade Runner, right? So I don't know if he would have had time.
Doesn't look like it.
Yeah. So this is just a sequel to the property, not the actual.
And that's what worries me about this.
As soon as I saw Benicio doing this, using his finger, he used his index finger to shoot a gun. I was like, "Fuck off, Benicio."
And that's the thing. This is more than 30 seconds. This review, but basically, what I found so interesting about it is that it's got layers. That movie, what I like a lot. Like, at first, it starts as like this crime procedural. Then we find out it's more like this covert ops, almost like a Jack Ryan movie. We're putting on bulletproof vests, we're getting in the Jeep, and we're going to go do some shit.
Okay.
And all of a sudden, it gets very personal. Again, I'm trying not to spoil it. at the end. Like, it's not a movie that gets bigger and bigger and bigger and this crazy climax. It shrinks down.
That's awesome.
And you're really invested in the last 20 minutes are so docile, but you're just like, Jesus fuck.
Just because that just shows how much you've invested in the characters if you can just shrink it down.
And that's what I like about that movie. It's whittled down to a point.
Yeah.
And that's why I don't think they'll be able to pull it off twice. And also the second one looks like it's going with the fucking angry old man, and all of a sudden this young girl comes into his life, so he has to feel like it looks like Leon or Logan. And I'm like, it's been done.
Logan the Professional.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, so we'll see.
So I think, that's stuff we've been checking out recently. We also got a bit of Krull, a bit of Swiss Army Man. Nice little summer catch-up podcast.
Nice cocktail.
A little cocktail of business. Thanks for listening, guys.
Speaking of cocktails, if I sounded lethargic, it's because I'm on a cocktail of pills here.
It's a lot of meds flying around. My only goal today is to steal a bunch of your painkillers, grind them up, and snort them on the drive home. But that's a story for another day.
Is that like libel? That's not.
What?
Huh? That's not admissible in court.
How much longer you got left with that sucker, that cast?
We're on day 10. So I believe we're going all the way. It's going to be at least 3-4 weeks total, I'm
Summer's
guessing.
a little kicked in the balls.
Yeah, but I have an appointment with the specialist on the 12th on Thursday. So what I'm guessing is that they're going to take the stitches out. So hopefully they'll give me something a little more compact than this goddamn Boris Karloff arm I got going on right now.
It's pretty groovy looking. I can't imagine. It's like one of those things, like having a glass eye. Where you're like, the poor bastard has a glass eye, but as like someone looking on, you're like, that's pretty cool. You got a glass eye. That's awesome. You fucking pirate. Not good for him.
That guy said that at the fucking movie when I went to go see Upgrade. Because you know me, I wear the same outfit. I have black pants, white t-shirt, and I have my fucking Kangol on. And he just as I was paying for my ticket, he looks me up and down and he's like, you got a lot of stuff going on right now, man. Like, and the arms just capping it off, like.
He was flirting with you.
Damn it!
You missed the boat.
God damn it!
All right, guys. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to check us out at spaceactionheroes.com. There you'll find everything you've ever dreamed of,
including a comic book
and random pictures of our stuff. And by stuff, I mean dicks.
Hey.
Jurassic.